my fellow bookworms, my name is Caroline and I like to read books, so let's talk about them. Today's video is going to be all about epic series finales because I've read a lot of finales in my time as a bookworm and some of them have been like earth-shatteringly amazing and others have been kind of craptastic, but I decided to make a video talking about some of the good ones. Also, just gonna put it out there that today is my birthday, which is super exciting. Or I mean, it will be my birthday when I upload this. I'm actually filming it a few days early, but anyway, birthday! My favorite kinds of endings are the bittersweet ones where it's like, yes, we finally defeated our villain, we can move on with our lives, there's no more oppressive evil consuming us, and it's really exciting. But also maybe a character has died or something really drastic has happened that's going to shape the future for them in maybe not a great way, but it's still better than the villain. I hope that's making sense, but I just like it when endings aren't overwhelmingly happy because it feels so unrealistic, especially because I read a lot of fantasy. It feels unrealistic if you've been fighting this villain for like 3 or 4 books who is like hugely powerful and hugely evil and stuff, and then you just defeat him and there's no consequences for you, like none of you die, none of you get badly injured. That doesn't make sense to me. So with that definition of my favorite kind of endings in mind, let's talk about them. First up we have City of Heavenly Fire by Cassandra Clare, which is the final book in the Mortal Instruments series, and I'll admit I wasn't a crazy huge fan of this series as a whole. There were just times where it felt kind of dragged out and the characters were kind of frustrating and immature, but overall it was still pretty entertaining, and this is very easily the best book in the series for me. What I liked about this book was that the characters felt a little more mature. They went into the final confrontation with the villain knowing that they might not come out of it in one piece. They knew that defeating him might mean the end of them as well, and they were willing to make that sacrifice, which I think is a really noble and adult thing to do. What I didn't like though, I can't really talk about because, you know, spoilers, but basically something happens right at the end that was it really upset me because it was super emotional, but then by the very end of the book the authors kind of backpedaled a bit and been like, no, it wasn't as bad as you thought, and that's just not something I really like. So I did enjoy this as a finale, but the other ones I'm going to mention are better. Next up is a manga and it's Death Note, which is honestly just the most amazing and awesome series. I love it so much and I highly recommend it. Basically the story is about our main character. His name is Light and he's a high school student who discovers a notebook on the ground one day that's been dropped by one of the gods of death, and the rules are that any name he writes in that notebook, as long as he knows a person's name and their face, they'll die if he writes their name in there. So he starts kind of killing criminals thinking he's doing the right thing, but then there's a detective who's on his case, and it's kind of about them trying to get the best of each other. The detective is trying to catch Light and Light is trying to get away from the detective, and it's just really exciting. And then in this book it comes to like this amazing conclusion. It was full of twists and turns. I really did not see the ending coming. I kind of thought it was going to go a different direction, but overall I was just super satisfied with it and I left feeling like it ended the perfect way for this series. The next finale I'm going to mention is The Hero of Ages by Brandon Sanderson, which is the final book in the Mistborn trilogy, and you guys know how much I like fucking love this series. It's amazing. But I will say that when I first finished this book, I was super unhappy with how it ended. In retrospect, I know that I was just grumpy because there were certain things I'd wanted to happen and certain characters I'd wanted to survive and be happy, and things just didn't go the way I had wanted them to. But when I sat down and kind of reflected on what had happened at the end and, you know, reread certain sections of it, I realized that the entire series builds to the same conclusion. There's no other conclusion that logically makes sense. The way this ends perfectly suits the entire series. Like, it's bittersweet. It is the definition of a bittersweet ending because characters you love die and some survive, and it's just like, it's full of these emotions, but it's the perfect ending for this series. And honestly, now that I've gotten over my initial grumpiness about it, it's one of my all-time favorite conclusions to a series. Next up we have Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows by J.K. Rowling, which was honestly one of my all-time favorite finales because it just made me so emotional. Like, I can vividly remember finishing this and I was sitting downstairs and my mum was about to go out or something and walked past me and I was just holding the book in my lap and silently crying. And she was like, oh my god, Caroline, what's wrong? And I was just like, Mum, I finished and I don't know what to do, and I was just like sobbing about it. And it was the first book that genuinely fucked me up like that. Like, I didn't know how to deal with these emotions because I was happy that certain things had happened, but also other characters had died, and I didn't know how to process that. And it was this perfect bittersweetness, and I think part of that was because it's the end to my favorite series ever, but also the ending just, it was so amazing, and I'm undecided what I think about the epilogue. On the one hand, I really like seeing that, but also I really liked things ending after, you know, the battle at Hogwarts and stuff, so I kind of don't know, but still, it's just, oh my god, it's amazing. The final finale I'm going to talk about is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, and this came out really recently, so I won't talk too much about it for fear of accidentally spoiling it for people who haven't read it yet. But basically, this book is just so amazing. What I really loved about this book was that it had a bit of an open ending. We're not really sure what our characters are getting up to, we're not sure where they're going to go with their lives now, whether they're going to go in separate directions or stick together or what, but I really liked that it represented a new beginning for them. Like, it just felt like the perfect way to end this story. And yeah, I wish we got more answers about certain characters or certain events and stuff like that, but honestly, it just fit this book so well, and that's why I love it so much. So yeah, those are some of my favorite epic series finales. Let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite finales are, because I would really like to know. I upload videos Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays though, so be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned on those days for more bookish goodness. Toodaloo!